This is the video walkthrough for Stapler. So the first thing that you'll notice on this VM is it has a number of ports that are open. The ones of immediate interest would be port 80 and possibly this port 12380. And also I looked into these SMB shared network directories as well for some interesting pieces of information. Now, when you run NIC2 against the various ports and look at the details, immediately you notice that there's an anonymous FTP account that can be used. So that was an easy target to start off with and see if I could start gathering some clues. When you use that FTP, you will see that there's a note there for Harry, and also there's a file called note, and so you just want to go ahead and do a get on that and then read it locally. You can do a cat on it, and there's another notation for someone named Ellie. So I started jotting down all the character names as I went through. I've got Harry, Ellie, John, and Barry as I'm going through a lot of the little clues. I wanted to actually explore the Samba exposure here. So I went ahead and ran a script called enum for Linux against this open port to see what I could find. It's a lot of information that is given, including administrator, account usernames, and things like that. But of most significance, and what I really dug into, were these network shares. So I noticed that there's one for Kathy and one for temp. So and then it gives me the mapping. So I went ahead and on my Kali machine I did an SMB client against those shares. Went through a bunch of Kathy's stuff, and she actually makes a note that she's going to make a backup of everything. So I got pretty excited when I saw this tarball of the WordPress configuration. Pulled that down and started looking through that. Also of note, I went ahead and did the SMB client against that temp shared directory. That I really thought was interesting because there's a node or a file there that's actually called ls, and when you pull that down and cat it, looks like it's pointing to some sort of private file that's owned by root or directory rather. So I'm thinking, well, that could be the directory where maybe the flag is located, so keep that in mind. Continuing with the information from enum to Linux, it pulled all of these users' names. So what I did is I just put all of those into a file and called that file users.txt. Now the result of that is that I was able to crack John's password, which is incorrect. So with that information, I could go ahead and log in as an administrator into WordPress. So I logged in and I tried to do some of my previous exploits that I've been successful with in WordPress. Unfortunately, with this version, I was not able to do that. So getting my web shells to come up, I had to kind of look into a different way to get a shell on this particular box. Now going back to the port 12380, some things of note that I found is that the site actually runs over HTTPS, so you need to remember that when you go to the URL. And as you look through the NIC2 results, you can find some interesting things here. So there's an admin 112233, and there's this blog which turns out to be the WordPress website. One of the things about the 112233 page is if you take a look at the source code, you'll find some sort of message here. It says a message from the head of our HR department. I tried to actually decode this. Looks like it's all in base 64, but I couldn't figure out what the hidden message is, so I might actually go back to Got Milk to find out if there's something more hidden here. So now that we know that we're dealing with WordPress, we can run WP scan and start gathering more information. It's important to note that it's version 4.2.1. Now, since I had gotten those creds on John, I decided to try his FTP account because I remember that note from that said, Ellie, make sure that this payload information is in the FTP account. And so I got excited because I thought, okay, let me try John's account and see if there's some information about a payload that would, allow me to exploit the box. Unfortunately, I couldn't use those creds, so needed to kind of go back to the drawing board with the Hydra attack, and with that, I was able to then get Ellie's password. So her password is YLLE, which is Ellie spelled backwards. Now, once you FTP into her account, there's lots of goodies, a lot of good information there. Continuing with that user list and the Hydra attack, we can continue and finally get to an SSH account that is accessible, and this is Shahazlet's account, and so that actually came immediately back because it has the same password, and that to allow us to have a foothold to get to the next stage of the process. So using that FTP account, I started looking around the temp directory, tried catting several root-owned files. I was able to see the cron tab, was able to see a lot of in the /home what the accounts were on the box. Ultimately, though, what was really nice was I was able to basically wget on the Python script Linux priv checker. So that actually comes back with several options of different exploits, and I spent some time going through each of these, compiling them and trying them out. Okay, I did spend some time going through each of those exploits found by the Linux priv checker, and I ended up running into a lot of different compiler errors, or I would go ahead and run the binary, but for different reasons it wouldn't actually exploit. So had to go back to searching again on exploit.db for another way. So one of the things that you'll read about from Got Milk's webpage is that he says that you should always try to look and see what kernel you're running, what version of the operating system you're running. So here's 16.04. Let's see if we can find some exploits related to that. There are some on exploit-db.com. So also, after running through a few of these, which you can see all the different exploits that I tried on this box, finally was able to have some success with the 39772. And so when you compile it, it does give some warnings, but it will go ahead and create the binary, and so that double put is all you need to execute, and then you will get a root shell, and then you go to the root directory and cat the flag. Great VM, definitely time consuming for me. I just couldn't put it down though. I had to keep going till I got to the end. So thanks for the milk and cookies got milk. Was definitely a lot of fun.